Deepa is an 11-year-old girl who lives in a town in Haryana. As her new school year starts, she has grown taller and needs a new school uniform. Her mother takes her to a cloth shop and asks for 2 meters of cloth. The shopkeeper uses a metal measuring rod to measure the cloth. Later, they go to a tailor. The tailor uses a flexible tape to measure Deepa's body size to stitch the uniform properly. Her mother tells the tailor to make the dress a bit longer by 4 angula, which means the width of 4 fingers. This is a traditional way to measure a small length. Deepa then wonders, are the metal rod and the tape same as the scale her elder sister uses in the geometry box? She shares all this with her friends Anish, Hardeep, Padma, and Tasneem. They start talking and learning more about different ways of measuring. Hello, my little learners. In today's video, we are going to explore something really interesting: measurement of length and motion. Have you ever seen a tailor using a measuring tape or a shopkeeper measuring cloth with a rod? Do you know what your school ruler, a metal rod, and even your fingers have in common? They all can be used to measure. We'll also talk about motion, what happens when things move from one place to another. So, get ready to learn how we measure things big and small and how we understand motion in our daily life. So, let's begin. How do we measure? Hardeep says, I have seen my grandmother measuring cloth by the length of her arm. Have you ever seen how a farmer measures length to divide his field into beds? He walks and counts the number of his strides, says Padma. Oh, not just the length of the strides, sometimes they also use the length of their feet to measure, adds Anish. Deepa says excitedly, measuring length using body parts must be so much fun. Let us also measure something using our body part. What should we measure? Okay, let us measure the length of the table in our classroom, says Tasneem. Padma adds, and which body part should we use to measure it? Deepa says, let us use our hand span. I will show you how to use it. I have seen my mother using it. She calls it balist. Hardeep adds, okay, let us also note down our measurements. Anish found the table to be slightly more than 13 handspans long, while Padma measured it as exactly 13 handspans. Tasneem found it to be slightly less than 13 handspans. Deepa said the length was between 13 and 14 handspans, and Hardeep measured it as 14 handspans. This shows that the measurements were a little different for each student because everyone has a different size of handspans. So, handspan is not a standard unit of measurement. Deepa says thoughtfully, no wonder people use scales and measuring tapes. Deepa and her friends compare the length of the table with the length of their handspans. The length of the table is expressed in terms of their handspans. Here, the handspan used for measurement is an example of a unit, and the length is expressed in two parts, a number and a unit. For example, if the length of the table is found to be 13 handspans, then 13 is the number and handspan is the unit selected for the measurement. However, handspans and other similar units such as length of hand, foot, fist or fingers differ from person to person. Thus, there is a need for such a unit for which measurements of the same length made by different people do not differ. स्टूडेंट्स, आपने हनुमान चालीसा तो जरूर पढ़ी या सुनी होगी. देयर इज अ वेरी फेमस लाइन इन इट, युग सहस्त्र योजन पर भानु, लियो ही ताहि मधुर फल जानू. इसका अर्थ है कि हनुमान जी ने एक युग सहस्त्र योजन की दूरी पर स्थित भानु यानी सूर्य को मीठा फल समझकर खा लिया था. नाउ लेट्स डिकोड द वर्ड्स. Yug is equal to 12,000 years as per ancient Indian texts. Sahasra means 1000 and Yojan means 8 miles. And we know 1 mile is equal to 1.6 kilometers. So 1 yojan is equal to 8 times 1.6, which is equal to 12.8 kilometer. Now multiply everything. Yug Sahasra Yojan, which is equal to 12,000 multiplied by 1000 multiplied by 12.8. That is 15 crore 36 lakh kilometers, which is very close to the real distance between the Earth and the Sun, around 150 million kilometers. Isn't that amazing? This line from a devotional prayer shows us that our ancient scholars were extremely wise. They knew so much about astronomy, measurement, and distances, all hidden in our spiritual texts. Our culture beautifully blends science and spirituality. Students, India has a rich history of measurement systems dating back to ancient times. Angula, finger width, multiples of angula, dhanusha, and yojana are some of the units mentioned in ancient Indian literature and used in measuring artifacts, architecture, and town planning. The angula is still used by traditional craftspeople like carpenters and tailors. Several objects with ruled markings, which could be scales, have been excavated from sites of the Harappan civilization. Now let's understand standard units. So, several systems of units evolved with time in different parts of the world. However, when people started traveling from one place to another, it created a lot of confusion. This led to the different countries coming together and adopting a set of standard units of measurement. The system of units now used is known as the International System of Units or SI unit. The SI unit of length is meter. Its symbol is small m. A meter scale is shown in figure 5.2. 1 meter is divided into 100 equal divisions. Each division is called a centimeter, which is denoted by small cm. You may be familiar with a smaller part of the meter scale, typically 15 centimeter long, shown in figure 5.3. Look carefully at the 15 centimeter scale. It has markings in centimeter from 0 to 15. The length of any section between two consecutive big marks, such as between 1 and 2 or between 5 and 6, is 1 centimeter. Observe that these sections of 1 centimeter length are further divided into 10 equal parts. The length of one of these smaller parts is called 1 millimeter, small mm. 1 mm is the smallest value of length that you can measure using this scale. 1 mm is equal to 1/10 of a centimeter. That is 1 mm is equal to 0.1 centimeter. For measuring larger lengths, we use a larger unit called a kilometer, which is equal to 1000 meters. And for measuring smaller lengths, we use units such as centimeter or millimeter. So remember students, 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter, 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter, and 1 centimeter is equal to 10 mm. In some scales, you might have noticed another scale markings. This scale marking is in inches, where 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeter. In earlier days, units such as inch and foot were used to measure length. These units are still used by some people. Would it be convenient to use the unit meter to measure larger lengths, such as the length of a railway track between two cities, or to measure smaller lengths, such as the thickness of a page of a book? So, no, it would not be convenient to use the unit meter for measuring very large or very small lengths. For example, the length of a railway track between two cities is too long to be measured in meters. So, we use kilometer instead. Similarly, the thickness of a page in a book is too small to be measured in meters, so we use millimeters for that. Therefore, we choose the unit according to the size of the object we are measuring. Meters for medium lengths, kilometers for long distances, and millimeters for very small lengths. Suppose we all measure the length of the table again, but this time using a meter scale. Will our results still be different? No, but we should first learn the correct way of using a scale to measure length. So let's understand correct way of measuring length. For measuring any length, we need an appropriate scale. For example, if you want to measure the length of your pencil, you may use a 15 centimeter scale. Similarly, if the height of a room is to be measured, you may need a meter scale or a measuring tape. You cannot directly measure the width of a tree or the size of your chest using a meter scale. For such measurements, flexible measuring tape such as a tailor's tape is more suitable. While measuring lengths, we need to take care of some points. What is the correct way to place the scale? So, when measuring the length of an object, the scale should be placed in contact with the object along its entire length. Make sure the edge of the scale is straight and aligned with the object. What is the correct position of the eye while reading the scale? So, if you are trying to measure the length of a pencil by aligning it with a scale, the position of your eye should be directly above the tip of the pencil. If you look from the side, the reading may appear wrong. This mistake is called parallax error. How to measure the length if the ends of the scale are broken? So if the ends of the scale are broken or the zero marking is not clear, it can still be used for measurement. With such a scale, use any other full mark of the scale, say 1 centimeter. Then you must subtract the reading of this mark from the reading at the other. For example, if the reading at one end is 1 centimeter and at the other end it is 10.4 centimeter, therefore the length of the object is 10.4 centimeter minus 1 centimeter, which is equal to 9.4 centimeter. Students, do you ever wonder how do visually challenged students measure length? They use scales with raised markings that can be felt by touching them. These raised lines help them know where the numbers are and how long an object is just by touching the scale. Why are some length measuring devices made up of flexible materials? So, some length measuring devices are made up of flexible materials like plastic, cloth, or soft metal because they are easier to use for measuring curved or uneven surfaces. For example, a tailor's measuring tape is flexible so it can easily wrap around the body or around curved objects like a jar or a wheel. If the measuring tool were stiff like a metal ruler, it would not bend and could not measure round or irregular shapes properly. So, flexible measuring devices are useful when we need to measure curves or corners or irregular shapes. Rules for writing units of length. So always use lowercase letters for unit names kilometer, meter, centimeter, millimeter, except at the beginning of a sentence. Unit symbols are also written in lowercase. Do not add s to the symbol for plural. And do not put a full stop after the unit symbol. Put full stop only if it's the end of a sentence. And always leave a space between the number and the unit. Measuring the length of a curved line. So Anish and his parents fixed electric string lights on the arcs of the veranda of their house as shown in figure 5.7 for a celebration at home. How would they have measured the required length of string lights? So, in the case of a curved line, we know measurements can be made with the help of a flexible measuring tape or by using a thread as shown in figure 5.8. The thread can be then straightened and its length can be measured using a meter scale. Describing position. So, one day the teacher informs her students that she has planned an educational visit to a nearby garden. She asked the students to reach there directly in the morning. Deepa and her friends start discussing whether the garden would be closer than their school or further. Tasneem and Padma say that the garden would be closer, while Deepa and Anish feel that the school would be closer. Hardeep thinks that both would be almost at an equal distance. Who do you think is correct? All of them are correct. Then, why are their observations different? Because they are locating the distances of the school and garden from their houses. If instead each of them had thought of distances from the same object or point, say the bus stand, then their observations would have been the same. When distance is stated with respect to a fixed object or point, then this point is called a reference point. A few days later, Hardeep tells his friends excitedly, "Let us all go to the playground." The sports teacher wants us to help her to draw lines with chuna powder, which is limestone powder, for making the kabaddi court for the sports day. Padma says, "We will need a longer measuring tape. Let us take it from the sports room." Deepa, let us first decide the point on the ground from which we will measure the distances to start drawing the lines. Let us call this our reference point. After a few days, Padma was traveling by bus to visit her grandparents in Delhi. She was eager to reach Delhi and was reading the kilometer stones on the side of the road. On one of the kilometer stones, it was written Delhi 70 kilometer. Further on the next kilometer stone read Delhi 60 kilometer. Each kilometer stone indicated that she was getting closer to her grandparents' house. What do such kilometer stones indicate? How could Padma conclude that she was getting closer to her destination? So these kilometer stones indicated her distance from Delhi. So Delhi is the reference point in this situation. If the kilometer stone reads Delhi 70 kilometer as shown in figure 5.13, we can say that the position of Padma is 70 kilometer from Delhi. When the kilometer stone reads Delhi 60 kilometer, the position of Padma is 60 kilometer from Delhi. Since the number got smaller, Padma understood that she was moving closer to Delhi. Students, we know a reference point is a fixed place from which we measure distance or position. Here, Delhi is the reference point. So, does this mean that the position of Padma with respect to the reference point is changing with time? Yes, as Padma travels and the distance from Delhi changes, her position is changing with time. When does the position of an object change with respect to a reference point? So, the position of an object changes when it is in motion. That means when the object is moving from one place to another. Does it change when an object is moving? So, yes, an object's position always changes with respect to the reference point when it is moving. If an object is not moving, its position remains the same. But if it moves, its position keeps changing with time, just like Padma getting closer to Delhi. Let's understand moving things. So, let us explore in activity 5.2. Look around and prepare a list of 5 objects that are in motion and 5 objects that are at rest. Record your observations in table 5.3. Now think about how you decided whether an object was in motion or at rest. Write your explanation, that is justification, in table 5.3. So, in this activity, we observed objects around us. Like cow grazing in the field is in motion because it keeps changing its position while moving around to eat grass. A car moving on the road is in motion as it travels from one place to another, changing its location continuously. A boy running in the park is also in motion because his position is changing with respect to the ground as he runs. A rotating fan is in motion since the fan blades are moving in a circular path. A train passing by a station is in motion because it changes its position quickly along the tracks. Whereas a tree is at rest because it remains fixed in one place and its position does not change with time. A chair in the classroom is at rest as it stays in the same position unless someone moves it. The school building is at rest because it does not move and remains fixed to the ground. A closed cupboard is at rest since it stays in one spot and does not change its position. A blackboard is at rest because it is fixed on the wall and does not move. So, an object is said to be in motion if its position changes with respect to the reference point with time. If an object is not changing its position with respect to the reference point with time, it is said to be at rest. Deepa looked around her in the bus and noticed that all the passengers were seated. She looked around again after a minute and found them still occupying their seats. She wondered, are they moving? She concluded that the position of the passengers were not changing with time. Therefore, they were certainly at rest. However, when she looked outside, she felt they were in motion as their positions were changing with respect to things outside. So, the reference point is important in deciding whether an object is at rest or in motion. If Deepa considered herself or the bus as the reference point, then the passengers were at rest. However, if she considered any object outside the bus, say a building, as the reference point, then the passengers and the bus were in motion. Now think over it. Suppose you are traveling on a ship which is moving at a constant speed along a straight line on a calm sea. Suppose there is no window on the ship. Is there any way that you can determine whether the ship is moving or is stationary? So, if you are inside a ship that is moving at a constant speed in a straight line on a calm sea and there are no windows or any way to look outside, you will not be able to tell whether the ship is moving or stationary. This is because when an object moves with constant speed in a straight line, that is uniform motion, it behaves exactly like it is at rest if there is no acceleration, turning, or external disturbances. Inside the ship, everything like the floor, furniture, and even the air is also moving with the same speed as the ship. So, relative to you, they all seem stationary. Since you and everything around you are moving together, you don't feel any push or pull and you don't observe any motion around you. So, without looking outside or feeling any acceleration, there is no way to tell whether the ship is moving or stationary. To detect the motion, you would need a reference point outside the ship, like the land, sea waves, or stars. Let's understand different types of motion. So, there are different types of motion we can observe in daily life. When we drop an eraser, it moves in a straight line. This type of motion is called linear motion. We can see such motion in events like a Republic Day parade where students march in a straight line. When an orange drops from the tree, it moves in a straight line. When a heavy box is pushed, it also moves along a straight line. So, when an object moves along a straight line, its motion is called linear motion. When we tie an eraser to a thread and whirl it in a circle, it moves along a circular path. This is called circular motion. and is similar to the motion of a merry-go-round. So, when an object moves along a circular path, its motion is called circular motion. If we hang the same eraser using a thread and pull it slightly to one side and release it, it moves to and fro from its original position. This type of motion is called oscillatory motion, like the motion of a swing. When we fix one end of a thin metal strip and press the other end slightly, it also moves up and down. This is another example of oscillatory motion. So, when an object moves to and fro about some fixed position, its motion is called oscillatory motion. Students, if an object repeats its path after a fixed interval of time, its motion is said to be periodic. When an object is in circular motion, it moves along the circular path again and again. An object in oscillatory motion also repeats its motion while moving to and fro. So both circular and oscillatory motion are periodic in nature. Let's do a quick revision of types of motion. Linear motion, movement in straight path. Examples are car on a straight road, ball falling down, bullet from a gun. Number 2, circular motion, that is movement in a circular path. Examples are fan blade, wheel of a bicycle, hands of a clock. Number 3, oscillatory motion, back and forth motion around a fixed point. Examples are swing, pendulum, seesaw. Activity 5.7. Let us identify. So look at the picture of the children's park, observe different kinds of motions and classify them as linear, circular or oscillatory motion. List them in table 5.4. Give your justification for why you put each in a certain category. So the child on the slide is showing linear motion because they move straight down along the slide from top to bottom. The merry-go-round shows circular motion as the children sitting on it move in a circular path around a fixed center. The swing displays oscillatory motion because it moves back and forth regularly about a fixed point. The seesaw also shows oscillatory motion since it goes up and down around its central support in a to and fro movement. The child skipping rope shows oscillatory motion as their body repeatedly moves up and down in a regular pattern. The child climbing on the monkey bars exhibits linear motion while moving forward in a straight path using their arms. So that's it for today, students. I hope you now have a clear understanding of measurement of length and motion, including the three main types of motion, that is linear, circular and oscillatory motions. In our next video, we'll dive into the question and answers from this chapter to strengthen your concepts even more. Till then, keep revising and stay curious. Bye-bye.